What will we be doing in today's video, you ask?
Let's have fun!
Okay, the interruption has really thrown me off of... Wait, I've got to... check the script, where was I? No, that's not... not that.
Struggle harder! Entertain me!
I'm gonna start by telling you a story. Are you sitting comfortably? Then we'll begin. A long time ago, a very long time ago, the Hay civilization, excuse my pronunciation, visited Solaris 3, finding it a suitable planet. They kick-started intelligent life on the planet. Before they mysteriously disappeared, they created an artificial resonator to look after the planet and guide it forward. The goal of the resonator was simple: to find promising individuals and test them. Those that failed were weeded out. Those who passed, well, the resonator would oversee their growth and help them bloom, with the ultimate aim of helping all of humanity on Solaris 3 to grow and bloom. And this meant seeing them to the point where they set out into space, where they drifted between the stars like dandelion seeds on the wind. To that end, the resonator was instrumental in helping set up an organization, and they studied what was left of the Hay civilization. They looked at information, any leftover remnants, whatever they could find. And ultimately, this organization helped the first steps into space. Things were going well, and all according to the original plan. This organization sent probes deep into space. They also set up research satellites and space stations around Solaris 3. Everything was great until the etheric sea wrapped around Solaris 3. It cut off all communication to the deep space exploring probes. It destroyed the satellites and space stations, and those it didn't destroy, it sent crashing down out of orbit. This was, of course, a disaster. And it was noted that at the same time, a new figure appeared on Solaris 3, the person we now know as a Rover. The organization and lots of other different factions took interest in this. And for some reason, the organization decided the best step was to eliminate Rover. To that end, they took what they learned from studying the Hay civilization and kind of reprogrammed the resonator, giving them a new objective on top of the original, that one being to eliminate Rover. Perhaps they thought that by getting rid of Rover, it would remove the etheric sea, since the two seemed connected. Perhaps they just wanted to make sure that Rover didn't decide to join any of the rival factions, or that those rival factions couldn't find a way of forcibly extracting knowledge from Rover. Maybe they just wanted to end that risk. That's what the resonator was sent out to do. That was their mission. Track, follow Rover, and then eliminate them. But it didn't work out that way. Again, for some reason that isn't entirely clear, they did the complete opposite. They actually joined Rover, became Rover's right-hand resonator, accompanying Rover on missions and helping them advance towards their own goals. Maybe this was because the resonator found a kindred spirit in Rover. He was someone from a different civilization, stranded on Solaris 3, completely alone, and stuck there, trapped by the etheric sea. Or maybe they decided that the best way to remove the etheric sea was actually to keep Rover alive. We don't know. But for hundreds of years they worked together, until eventually Rover decided that they needed to wipe their own memories. After this, the resonator decided to do a very similar thing. They couldn't wipe their memories, but they could seal them away, put them out of touch and out of reach. Now those memories only return in brief flashbacks, causing immense stress and pain to the resonator. But when they do return, they realize that they know absolutely everything. The history of Solaris 3, all the details of the lament, what Rover really is, who Rover really is, where they come from, what their mission is. They know everything. This is about the only resonator, I guess except for Rover, who seems to know that. Okay, so let's take a look at why I say that Camellia is such a major figure in both the history and probably the future of Solaris 3 in terms of the overarching story behind the game. First of all, we'll probably know from playing through the game, if you have experienced Camelia's story, you'll know about the choice to lock her memories away, forgetting that she was originally called Lady Flora. But if you have the character, there's actually a lot more story to her inside the experiences part once you've raised her intimacy. And this is where the real mystery begins. Now, a brief bit of meta info. For some reason, Camellia also has only ever had one rerun to her banner. That was back in March of 2025. This means very few people have Camellia as a character, so can experience and see these parts of the story, which is quite a curious decision, really. Camellia was such a prominent figure in the way Kuvo advertised the game. And when you go in there, you find out various things. You have wording like she watched civilizations rise and fall. You have wording that hints that she was there before the lament ever started. She's certainly been on Solaris 3 for longer than Rover. She is perhaps the oldest resonator there is that we know of in the game. And she is, effectively, immortal. And also, it makes it clear that she is suspected to be an artificial resonator, created, but by who? Well, her history stretches back so far, I don't think it would be the Frexodus. That's maybe an obvious connection, but I think Camellia outdates the Frexodus, goes back way earlier than their formation, certainly way earlier than they would have had the technology and abilities to make an artificial resonator. And I think that's true of any of the organizations on Solaris 3, which is why I would pick the Hay civilization as her creator. And also, this idea was sparked when I watched Fat Fluffy Penguin's recent video about Camellia, and he mentioned that if you look at the original Chinese for the Hay civilization, it has two translations, the River civilization or the Seed civilization. And that's super interesting. It does make it sound like they seed planets with life. But also we know that Camellia is constantly talking about seeds. She refers to herself as a special seed. She refers to Rover as the special seed of fate. Perhaps that means that she joined Rover because she actually found Rover was the biggest match for her original mission of testing resonators and people to see if they lived up to whatever standard or level that she had been programmed to look for. Perhaps she found Rover was the ideal candidate, and that's why she did not follow through in the assassination. The mention that she was sent out to be an assassin is also there in her story, something that isn't revealed in the game unless you have the character. But anyway, with all this references to seeds, and then also another thing that had always puzzled me about Camellia, she's super battle-thirsty, she is super impetuous and impatient, and yet her hobby is kind of like gardening. She likes people to bring her seeds from all over the world, bring them to her in the Black Shores, where she plants them, tends to them, waits for them to grow, and waits for them to bloom. Something that requires a lot of patience. It just doesn't really seem like her personality. And that's where I got to wondering, with all these references to seeds, whether or not this was Camellia's programming, her mission as an artificial resonator, to be a gardener of humanity. Now, I say that she helped found or form or bring together an organization. Well, that's an idea I had from her name. She used to be called Lady Flora. Now, a lady implies you have to be part of some hierarchy or structure. And what kind of structure, hierarchy normally has lords and ladies? Well, a court. So I think she's connected in some way to the court of Cervantes. That's the organization that kind of spearheaded a lot of the work that took humanity into space. And I can see Lady Flora being part of that. And somehow I don't see her as just joining an organization, either as Camellia or as Lady Flora. She was that powerful and that independent. I can't see her just saying, sure, I'll join your organization. This is why I think maybe she was part of founding it. And it might have been part of her mission was to see humanity into space. As for the Fraxidus, we also have a comment from her where she's just entirely dismissive of them and their games, and she says that she's led them on a merry chase, and totally fooled them. She seems very dismissive. She seems to see them as small potatoes, just not important, not powerful, not that interesting. As for the reason as to why I think she was reprogrammed rather than built with the mission of eliminating Rover, well, first of all, it's because she was there for so long, and Rover hasn't been there for that long compared to Camellia or Lady Flora. At least I don't believe so. Also, there's a description in her experiences where she's clearly been around, she's existed. This isn't her birth, I don't think. She's having these chemicals administered to her. Anacorta Savante was known to study the Haze civilization, so it's not impossible that, although they never developed the technology to create their own artificial resonator, they maybe got far enough along that they learned how to manipulate the Haze civilization existing artificial resonator. And I don't think we've seen the last of Camellia either. She's continually popped up even there in the background in the story. She was part of the event in the cafe in Hanami. She did show up at a big battle against Leviathan, if I remember rightly. So she's still present, but I think she'll come back in a big way once the story arc begins to progress towards the ending, once more is revealed. And I'm beginning to suspect it may turn out to be like Yang Yang, where we're getting an alternative version of her, kind of an upgraded one. Patch is due out tomorrow, as I record. And I'm thinking that maybe in a year, 2 years, we'll see Camellia do the same thing as more of the story is uncovered and we come to realize just who Camellia is, who Lady Flora was, and how far back all this goes, as it begins to uncover a little bit more about what is the Lament, really. What is the purpose of Solaris 3? Why is Rover on Solaris 3? Why did Rover, and then Lady Flora, decide to lock away their memories? I think Camellia is a fantastic character. I think it's the one that really got me hooked on Wuthering Waves, because as you go through the intro, all the characters are pretty standard. Sorry, Yang Yang, Chisha, everybody. But it was when I came to Camellia and played through her story that I really began to see how this game is going to be different in terms of its story, in terms of its characterization, in terms of the depth of what's going on behind it all. And it really got me hooked. So I'll be interested to see Camellia turn up again, along with Flora, one of my other favourite characters. I think there's a lot more we have to learn, and a lot more we have to see about their background, and about their story, and about what's going on for real in Solaris 3. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again next time.